Welcome back to another video on the channel. Unfortunately, we still haven't got any live tennis or tournament to talk about, but I'm going to be taking an in-depth look at British tennis today. Just looking at the flag bearers for British tennis over the past few years, and then look at the next generation coming through, hoping to take over the reins. And also just plugging my blog and telling you what's on there. I've been writing lots of articles and interviewing lots of players, junior players and coaches. So if you want to check any of that stuff out, the link is in the description, but I'll talk about it later in the video. So kicking things off, talking about with Andy Murray, and I think a perfect advocate for our sport and a brilliant flag bearer for British tennis on and off court over the past 10 or so years. Murray's obviously a three-time Grand Slam champion, won that maiden US Open title all them years ago, and then has since registered 2 Wimbledon titles, beating Novak Djokovic and Milos Raonic in the finals. He is also a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, former world number 1, Davis Cup champion. The list is almost endless. But Andy's been fantastic for British tennis on and off court. On court, the quality of the fight, the heart, the emotion. It's almost, a roller coaster of a journey with every tournament with Andy. But he leaves everything out on court, and you can see how much he's dedicated his life to the game to get to the level that he has. And he is an outstanding tennis player. He's playing in arguably the best era of men's tennis with Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, Wawrinka. There's so many top quality players in for Andy to come out of this already with 3 Grand Slams and former world number 1 and 2 Olympic golds. He has had an absolutely fantastic career. Unfortunately, the past 2 years haven't been fantastic due to that hip injury, but he has made a return. You just never know. You can never write off Andy Murray. He won't give up until it's physically impossible, and he was due to make return obviously this year before this pandemic set in, but hopefully Andy comes back in full fighting fit form later in the year, next year, and hopefully challenges for Grand Slams again. And I think as long as Andy's on tour, he wouldn't come back to make the numbers up. Andy comes back to win, and he's a born winner, and he's a fantastic tennis player, so I certainly wouldn't be writing him off winning more titles and Grand Slams further down the line, and hopefully that's what he will do. Moving on to Jo Konta, again another fantastic flag bearer, and she's been brilliant for women's tennis, inspiring thousands of young girls around the country to pick up a racket, which is where it all starts. And probably the most important thing in tennis, to have role models and inspiring figures like those two to look up to and thrive to be like. And Konta's reached 3 Grand Slam semi-finals in her career, won 3 WTA titles. She was ranked 4th in the world in 2017 when she was probably playing the best tennis of her career. And in such a tough era, she's always excelled and produced consistently. Since the start of 2017, we've had 11 different women Grand Slam champions. And then on top of that, you've still got Simona Halep, Venus Williams, Serena Williams, Petra Kvitova, Angelique Kerber, which just shows you the depth and quality of the women's tour right now. There's so many fantastic young and experienced old players, and Konta's in the mix with all of them. On a day I think Konta is capable of beating anybody in the world, and she's been so close at Wimbledon a few times to reaching the final and reaching semi-finals. And I think one day for Konta will all click. She's a fantastic grass court and hard court player. Particularly at Wimbledon. I know she thrives off the crowd, and she loves playing Wimbledon on centre court and court 1, which she's done so many times. And I really hope for one year that does all come off and she reaches that final and wins it, because I think it's a title that she does deserve. She has played fantastic Wimbledon for so many years, as I say, being very close, but the quality is just that high. It's always fine margins, but Konta's right in the thick of it, and as I say, she's excelled and done very well at tournaments throughout her career in a very tough era, so all credit to her. And again, like Andy, she's a fantastic role model for British tennis, and I'm sure someone that a lot of children look up to, and a lot of children have picked up a racket because of her, which is a brilliant achievement for her in herself. And I think it's always important to have inspiring figures. For the next generation, you need people to look up to as role models and say, I want to be like them one day, I want to lift them titles one day. And why not? Andy and Jo started where they are now, so it's always, as I say, very important to have people at the very top who conduct themselves brilliantly on and off court to look up to and aspire to be like. Away from them, I'm going to look at the 2019 Fed Cup success, which were led by Anne Keothavong, captained by Kunta. And without even mentioning the results, I was lucky enough to be at 2 of the ties in Bath, and the atmosphere and events themselves were outstanding, and I think a real standout moment for British tennis, and definitely for the players' careers. They've since said in interviews how much they enjoyed it, and it was the highlight of their career so far. The crowd really urged them on and really forced them to improve the level of tennis in them ties, and I think it just shows the importance of these players having support and getting what they fully deserve. So the team consisted of Kunta, Katie Boulter, Harriet Dart and Katie Swan. Obviously the three were very young players that usually play singles. They all played fantastic tennis that week. As I say, I was lucky enough to see 2 of the ties live, and some of the tennis that they all produced that week was just outstanding, really. Undoubtedly the best tennis of the career, and you could see the energy, the emotion in the arena, and being part of that team. They were very proud to represent Great Britain, and it definitely inspired their performances to be better. They beat Slovenia, Greece, Hungary and Serbia in Bath, all very strong teams, before beating Kazakhstan in London in the final playoff to qualify for the World Cup, which was a fantastic achievement, and as I say, for British tennis, brilliant really. The events themselves were outstanding, the tennis was outstanding, as I say, it's a standout moment for tennis, and again, I'm sure a lot of children were watching live and on the telly and saying I want to be like them one day, which is exactly what we need to progress and improve British tennis. Heather Watson wasn't a part of that squad. I think she had to pull out during injury. It was February last year. I'm sure she was injured at that time. But since returning from injury, she registered a 4th W title win in Acapulco, Mexico early this year, beating Canadian teenage protege Leylah Fernandez in the final. And I think for Heather, she's sort of underachieved throughout her career because of lack of form and injury. I think injuries have been very harsh on Watson, but on a day when fully fit and playing her best tennis, I genuinely believe she can be a top 30, a top 20 player. She's capable of hitting anybody off the court. Very strong forehand and backhand from the back of the court, a brilliant serve. Shows real fight and heart and attitude on the court, and you can see how much she loves to win titles. And I think it'd be very important for Watson's now 27, she's probably approaching the peak years of her career. Will have learnt a lot about herself during the years and gained a lot of experience on court. And I think it's just important for her to stay fit. I think if she can stay fit for the next 18 months to 2 years, I think she will make a real assault on the rankings, and there's no reason why she can't make deep runs at Grand Slams and pick up a lot of WTA titles. As I say, when fully fit and in good form, she's capable of beating anyone in the world, in my opinion. Katie Dunn is a great player in singles and doubles, plays with so much energy and heart on the court. She won an ITF title in Spain last year. Georgiana Burridge, a very highly rated teenager, just 19 years old, already won ITF single titles in Jerusalem last year, won a doubles title earlier, and last year as well, partnered by fellow Brit Alicia Barnett, and she started this year with a doubles win in Tunisia. We have got so many women on the British side that are playing so well in singles and doubles in the ITF tournaments. Sarah Beth Gray is another one of them. Had a fantastic couple of years in the doubles ITF tour, forming successful partnerships with fellow Brits Olivia Nichols and Eden Silver. Eden Silver again won 3 ITF double titles, while Nichols has kicked off a doubles year with a win in Sunderland. And it was Eden Silver partnered by Evan Hoyt that made that memorable run at Wimbledon last year in the mixed doubles. And I think it was brilliant for British tennis to have someone like Silver and Hoyt, and just new players to follow deep into the tournament, deep into week 2. They made that quarter-final stage, played some fantastic tennis throughout, gained a lot of support and new fans. And yeah, Hoyt and Silver were fantastic in that mixed doubles tournament last year. And lastly, on the women's side for now, I'm going to talk about Emma Raducanu, just 16 years old, and for me she is the most exciting young talent in British tennis for now. Obviously important we don't put too much pressure on her to succeed in the future, because obviously there's a long way for her to go in her career. but she's already won 3 ITF titles. Just a fantastic young player, particularly when aggressive off the return and attacking with a forehand. I remember watching the Manchester Trophy live a couple of years ago. I think she must have been 14 or around 14 that time. She played against fellow Brit Harriet Dart, who was 6 or 7 years old, and obviously Dart's a fantastic singles player. Reached the main draw of Grand Slams. So she was up against it in that one Raducanu with her age, but to even qualify for the main draw in ITF singles at that age is pretty crazy. And she did compete very well, but lost the match. But it was after the match what impressed me most. I turned around after interviewing her playing. She was practiced for about an hour on the court to rectify the mistakes and sort of use that loss as more of an experience to make a positive outcome on a career in the game. I just thought that attitude was very good and shows you how dedicated she is to the sport and how much she wants to learn and improve. And I think that's obviously super important if you want to become a top tennis player in these days. So moving on to the men. Obviously, Andy Murray has been the flag bearer for men's tennis in Britain and across the world, really, winning the titles that he has and the achievements that he has done. But Kyle Edmund, I feel, has played a fantastic supporting role, and he had a huge breakthrough in 2018 in his career, obviously reaching the semi-final at Australian Open. He won his first ATP title in Belgium, and he entered the top 16 in the world for the first time. And when you consider at the top of the men's game, you've got the big three, players like Raonic, Cilic, Schwartzman, that experienced Monfils, and then you've got the young guns, Tsitsipas, Zverev, Medvedev, Tiafoe, Coric coming through. Just shows you how much depth and quality there is in that men's tour, and it's very difficult to reach the top 16, but Edmund done that, thoroughly deserved, played fantastic tennis. But unfortunately for him, I'm sure he'll admit himself, he didn't have the best 2019, he struggled with form and fitness throughout. But thankfully for himself and for British tennis, he came back with a bang and started 2020 with winning his second ATP title in New York. And this break probably hasn't come at a great time for Edmund, but he'd be confident knowing that he was playing very good tennis before the break. I'm sure he'll come back later on in the season, obviously hopefully getting the US Open in, rumour that's going to be played at Indian Wells. And Edmund's obviously a very good hardcore player, suits his big game, and hopefully he can make a big run at that US Open. Dan Evans won titles last year in Nottingham and Surbiton. I was lucky enough to interview him last week, and he just told me about how he's playing the best 10 of his career. He does still have aspirations to reach the top 15, top 20 and make deeper runs at Grand Slams. But he's playing the tennis of his life. He started this season very well as well, beating Andrei Rublev in Dubai to reach the semi-final. And yeah, just playing some fantastic tennis at the minute, Dan. Obviously got that wonder of a backhand, and just very explosive around the court, very unorthodox I feel, but great to watch, great entertainer, and a player that I think is getting better throughout the career and could win titles later this year, next year. Again, Jay Clark, is an exciting young talent, just 21-year-old, already in the top 100, won an ITF title last year in China. He has obviously qualified for Wimbledon singles and doubles a couple of times, but I think he's a player we'll see a lot of at Wimbledon. Likes the grass, has a huge game, strong serve and forehand. So yeah, I remember the name. And German-born Jan Choinski, not a player I've seen a lot of, but when researching, he had a very good 2019, winning 2 ITF singles titles and a doubles title. Still 23-year-old, and I'm sure he's got a big career ahead of him, definitely one to watch. And if you're looking for a teenager to follow like Raducanu on the men's tour, probably Jack Draper is your man. Just 18 years old, already won 7 Futures titles, runner-up in that memorable final at Wimbledon Juniors in 2018, and brings so much energy and entertainment to the court. Evan Hoyt, mentioned him earlier, reached the quarter-final at mixed doubles with Eden Silver at Wimbledon last year. And lastly, I'm going to talk about Ryan Peniston and Paul Jubb, who are starting to climb the rankings after probably certainly Peniston started his pro career a little later because he went to America to study and play college tennis, which are both spoken very highly of. Both had lots of success playing in America, talking about how it gives you that competitive streak and lots of experience playing matches constantly, being part of a team. Puts a lot of pressure on you, but in a good way. and they both come out of that. Yes, as I say, I've interviewed them both, and they both spoke very highly of it, and they're very confident they can climb the rankings quickly and win titles further down the line. I just quickly want to congratulate Paul Job. He was recently selected for LTA's Pro Scholarship Programme. I'm sure he's going to have a huge career ahead of him. A very, very good young player, and a pleasure to interview as well. Very polite and has lots of exciting things to say. Away from that, just quickly, players like Tara Moore, Neil and Ken Skupski have won many doubles titles over the years, as has Andy's brother Jamie Murray. They remain always inspiring for younger British players. James and Alex Ward, Naomi Brody. The list is endless, but if I went into everybody's career, I'd probably be here till tomorrow. So lastly, I have got an interview, an article on the blog, talk about the importance of giving exposure to British tennis, so I will leave a link to that. And I've also done interviews with Dan Evans, Fran Jones, Victoria Allen, Job, Ryan Peniston, Sarah Beth Gray, Katie Dunn, Ken Skupski, Cam Norrie. So if you want to check any of them out and have a read this afternoon, I will leave a link in the description. And yeah, I've also done interviews with some coaches, which are quite interesting to read, to see how they work differently, different tactics and different approaches towards players. I've got interviews with Diego Moyano and Fred Fontang, who was trainer of Auger Aliassime, another very exciting young player, and also interviews with juniors, which I thoroughly enjoyed doing. You realise at 15, 16-year-old that they've set their heart on becoming a pro tennis player from an early age, and they've already sort of mapped out their careers, which is very interesting. I interviewed one player that wants to go to Rafael Nadal's academy in Mallorca for a year. Some players wanted to stay in the UK, and they believe in the local local clubs, playing at the local clubs, and with their current setup, they believe they can make it to the very top. Some players want to go to sort of follow that path that Peniston and Jubb went down to, and go to America to play college tennis and sort of have that degree to fall back on. And if they don't succeed in the pro career, to go into tennis coaching. I just think it's very interesting that 15 and 16-year-olds have sort of dedicated their life to tennis, and the trainings that they do at home is just fantastic and almost inspires. It certainly inspired me when reading them, just to realise that at that sort of age they've already got their role models, and they've already sort of set out that they want to be involved in tennis, which I think is great. Fantastic sport to be a part of. But yeah, as I say, I've been working very hard on the blog to get lots of interviews and get lots of articles up. So if you want to read any interviews of British players or coaches or junior players, then just check out the link in the description. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.